Welcome back to Builds Not Projects. This week, back on the Trike, we're going to go ahead and get started with getting rid of our dangly fuel tank and running a fuel line to the gas tank that we built a couple videos ago. Well, unfortunately, should have made sure that that 1/4-inch barb that I ordered was actually 1/4 inch, because this 1/4-inch fuel line is pretty dang sloppy on there. So I'm gonna try to just tighten down the clamp as good as I can, and hopefully it seals. Well, got the fuel line kind of put in, only put one little mounting tab on it for now. The rest will go in later on when we take it apart to paint it. I'll end up just zip tying it for now. And then moved along and I pulled off the secondary clutch, mainly because I don't have a piece of key stock underneath here to hold it to the jack shaft. So I needed to take it off to do that, and while it's off, I'm gonna go ahead and weld these up, and then that way they're nice and strong for a future test drive, because I don't want to rip those off either. So gonna weld those up and then finish disassembling this, put a piece of key stock in, and then all that'll be ready to go back on. Moving on, gonna get the parking brake lever installed. Since it's a CVT, I mean, it doesn't have any way to hold itself in place when you're parked, so figured the old Odyssey parking brake would be useful for this. Basically, it's just gonna mount like right in here. I'm gonna just use a piece of this flat stock, chop it, drill a couple holes in it, weld it on there. It'll be good to go. And then the cable just route underneath and then tie right into the mechanical portion of the brake caliper. The little bracket is made. I'm gonna just weld these nuts on to that for ease of assembly and disassembly, getting smarter, and then we'll go ahead and weld that on. Alright, it's all mounted up. Seems to work good. I mean, it doesn't really work right now, but it will once the brakes are hooked up the rest of the way and adjusted. Should work just fine. So now we're gonna move on and probably actually finish hooking up the rest of the brakes. getting ready to put this piece of rubber brake hose on here, and I didn't have the correct fitting, so I just used a 1/8 inch pipe to the 3/16 tube, and then just threaded it on as far as I could get it on here without stripping it out, and then just used some silver solder to hold it on. Not the prettiest thing, but it should work. I did it on the Odyssey as well, for those of you who remember that. So I got another fitting, and they're both 1/8 inch pipe thread, so I just added a little silver solder on there, make sure that they seal up good, because they don't need to come apart again anyways. And then ended up rerouting the line over this way instead of up through the middle. That way it doesn't move with the turning, so it's much better to do it that way than before. I'd ran it up through, well then it tries moving around a whole bunch, and this seemed like the best way to do it without building a bunch of custom lines. I mean, I guess these are kind of custom, but you know what I mean. But first, got to chop off this brake lever so we can actually use it. So we need to do that, and then we need to bleed all the brakes, and then we can move on and probably start building throttle cable next, because that seems to be a logical order. After a little bit of welding, building a cap for that banjo bolt, after I'd already welded a hole shut, but it was still leaking around the threads and everything. So I just capped that off so that way it seals it up there. Started bleeding, and this side here I get no pressure at all out of either side. Bleeder screws whether I take them all the way out or not. And this hose flexes like it's getting pressure there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it out and see. I don't know, I got these things on eBay, they could be plugged full of something, but nah, see if we get pressure there. No pressure there, this hose is plugged up, so I have to pull it off and figure out what's going on there. Well, after some drill bit persuasion to clear the blockage, seems to have fluid coming through it now, besides the reservoir being empty. But we'll hook that back up, finish bleeding, good to go.
That was all we had time for this week, guys. We'll be back next week on the Trike again to hopefully get some of that stuff wrapped up and then maybe get it running. We're not sure yet, but it would be really nice. Make sure you like and subscribe as usual. It really helps us out. And if you guys want to see more content during the week, we're going to start posting more on Instagram. We'll do reels and pictures and stuff. So go check us out there at Builds Not Projects, all one word. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next one.